This is Big Bend National Park in southern Texas. This park covers over 800,000 acres of rugged mountain terrain and beautiful landscapes. So if you're planning a trip to Big Bend National Park, today's video I will show you where you can stay, how to plan for your trip, and some of the wildlife in the area, including cows right in the campground. Now we visited Big Bend National Park at the 1st of March of this year. And it is a good idea to make a reservation. We made one 2 months in advance and ended up having to move just once to stay 11 days. We got there a couple days before our reservation and we stayed at this cute little town called Marathon, just north of Big Bend National Park. And I'll put a link to the video of this little town in the description below. So then you're going to turn on Highway 385 and head south to the Big Bend National Park. We stayed at the Rio Grande Village campground, and it took us about an hour and a half to make it to the campground because the speed limit is only 45 after you enter the park. Now another campground is the Chisos Basin campground. It is surrounded by tall rocky cliffs and is conveniently located near some of the park's most spectacular and popular trails. But due to the terrain, campsite size, and road access, this campground is not suitable for trailers over 20 feet and RVs over 24 feet. There are no hookups at this park. Now the last campground is called Cottonwood. It is a quiet, shady desert oasis located between Castellone Historic District and Santa Elena Canyon. There are no hookups, no dump station, and generators are not permitted. So we'll be looking at all three of these a little bit more in just a moment. Now this is the check-in station for entering Big Bend National Park. It costs $30 a vehicle, $25 for a motorcycle, and $15 per individual. But if you have the National Park Pass, you don't have to pay anything, you can go right through. They also give you some wonderful information here that you want to keep with you. A pamphlet here on things to do, a map, a sticker for your window. But the map you definitely want to use. We used ours all the time because there isn't any cell phone or Wi-Fi in the park, especially at the campgrounds. There is Wi-Fi at the laundromat here we'll be showing you coming up at the Rio Grande Village campground. This is about the middle of the park where you turn left or right. We're going to go left to the Rio Grande Village campground. We didn't stop here, but they do have gas and I think a visitor center and probably some little knickknacks or whatever to buy inside. It is a good idea if you're planning on driving some of the back roads to have an extra gas can with you. Now remember, this is the 1st of March. Normally this creek here under the bridge is flowing with water later in the year. But in March, everything is very dry here. You make sure you bring a lot of extra water. The temperatures are really good though in March. It's a lot cooler. You have cooler evenings. We did hit a couple days into the 90s. And the one thing, if you look on your weather app for Big Bend National Park and it says 70 degrees, well, if you're staying at Rio Grande Village, it's at a lower elevation. So it's going to normally be 20 degrees hotter than what your app tells you. So we had a few days of 90-degree weather, and we were actually camping in a place that you couldn't use your generator. So it got pretty hot. We're going to be showing you the campground in just a minute. Now you're going to come across a visitor center before you have to turn left to the campground. And this is a good place to unhook your vehicle if you have a tow vehicle. You don't have to. You can unhook at the campground as well, but there's a lot of space here. We stopped and unhooked the Jeep and then just checked out the visitor center to see. I like to read whatever signs there are on. It explains a lot of the plants and wildlife that you might see in the area. We just met a couple that live around here and told us all sorts of roads to go on, where not to go and where to go on. They said it is an extremely dry year this year. I mean, it's always dry this time of year, but you can't see that right here. More than 450 bird species have been seen in the park. Probably not in March, but... Now, if you love birding, you will find a unique bird here called the Vermillion Flycatcher. There are quite a few of them here, and they're very easy to spot because of their bright red feathers. Now right in front here, this is where you're going to find Wi-Fi. That's the laundromat, a gas station, and a little general store in there. But you can park anywhere in the parking lot, and they have picnic tables if you want to come here to use their Wi-Fi. This park is almost always full. Some people are here just for a couple days. We were here, like I said, we wanted to stay at least 11 days. But people were coming and going pretty much all the time. You have a dump station up here on the left right before you enter Rio Grande Village Campground. And there are water spigots throughout the park. We just took a plastic container and filled it up and poured it into the RV when we needed some extra water. Way up there in the background, there's some great hiking back there. We'll show you that too. Those mountains back there are just gorgeous. So here's the entrance to Rio Grande Village. Like I said, if you don't have a reservation, you probably won't get in because it is full all the time. This first part of your campground, you can have a generator. I believe there might be about 20 spots here. We'd have to look it up. But generators are allowed. I think there's certain hours, like 8 a.m. till 11, and then in the afternoon you can use them also. And this is something I didn't know when I reserved. I thought the whole park you could have generators. And if I would have known that, I would have tried to get one of these first spots here. The spots are really nice. They're spacious. As you can see from March, there's green grass out in the middle. They actually flood the park every couple weeks by drawing water out of the Rio Grande. And that's what keeps the trees looking really nice. And the birds. That's what attracts, it's like the Vermillion Flycatcher. It's attracted to water, so all the animals come around. And later in the video, I'll show you the animals that we saw right here at this campground. We actually had a herd of cattle come through one morning. And I believe they came across from the other side of the Rio Grande, because I haven't seen any cows on this side, but boy, you do see a lot of cows on the other side. So I think they were escapees. And this campground can fit any size RV. You can have tents here or the big Class A's. There's a spot for everybody here. Now, like I said, we had to move just once to have our 11 days here. And luckily, I was able to get a spot right across from our other spot. So it didn't take much to move. We were in the first spot, I think, 4 days, and then the rest of the time in the one across the road. So this is our spot here. We're gonna park and get set up. Now when we got here a week ago, we had that spot over there. And we had that, I think, well, almost a week. But I was able to reserve the spot right over here. So all we had to do is move across the road. The sights here are really nice. Now, even though Big Ben says on the weather that it's 70 degrees today, that's probably up in the mountains. Down here at Rio Grande is going to be close to 100 again. One of the trinkets I got at the stand that you can find out there. Now we're going to take a look at the other 3 campgrounds here at Big Bend National Park. Here on your left are the full hookups right here by the Rio Grande Village Campground. They are on the west side of the laundromat. They're on pretty much on a parking lot, but at least you have full hookups. And if you keep driving past that park, it'll come to a dead end, but there's a trail that goes all along the Rio Grande and up into the mountains you see ahead. This here is Cottonwood Campground. It is clear on the west side of the Big Bend National Park. It is a smaller campground. It's very quiet, shady, and wonderful for birding. They have a lot of birds down in this area because of the water. But there are no hookups, no dump station, and no generators are allowed. It is open year-round. Reservations required. November 1st through April 30th. Are you ready for a backroads adventure? Join us next week when we take you off-roading with the Jeep. There are a couple of popular places here that sometimes you can only get to with a high clearance vehicle. One of those places is Ernst Tanaha. It is off the paved roads, but well worth the journey. And we'll take you to Santa Elena Canyon, a site that is definitely worth seeing and take your camera with because it is beautiful. So I want to thank you for watching, and as always, I hope to see you next time on Adventures Outdoors.